What if healing cancer didn't always require more toxicity in the body? What if what it required was an open mind, an opportunity to learn about what the body needs and how it heals? Well, for many of us, when we get a cancer diagnosis, it is crisis mode. You have to do everything yesterday. And we're going to eliminate some of this panic that comes from a diagnosis of cancer because today in the classroom, we have Dr. Henning Saupe. He is a pioneer in integrative oncology who uses and reveals powerful ways that he envisions someone's ability to heal the body naturally and backed by science. He helps his patients with great results. And he will also be talking today about using therapies like whole body hyperthermia, mistletoe extracts, and metabolic reprogramming. Oh my, this is going to be a class that could be so empowering to you that it will forever change the way you look at cancer. So make sure that if you know of someone who is facing a diagnosis or is living with cancer or is concerned about getting it, perhaps maybe, today's conversation will bring hope and a new perspective about how the body heals. So go get your pens and paper because we're going to learn and grow together.
And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here waiting for you.
Hi, my name is Lily McDermott, and I am a certified life coach. I am a certified holistic cancer coach and the host of the Lillian McDermott radio show. If this is your first time in the classroom, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. I believe ultimately it is my desire through the McDermott Holistic Healing Foundation, through other doctors who promote health and wellness, instead of adding toxic products into your body, remove them and maybe add things that the body needs, the deficiencies. Nobody is chemotherapy deficient. So today we're going to be unlocking some truths about other ways that the body can release cancer in a way that is gentle towards your body. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. Henning Saupe is here to do just that. I am so grateful for you to share your wisdom today with us.
Hi, Lily. It's a great pleasure and an honor to be in the classroom again with you and our audience. And I'm excited to hear your questions and to move on with a holistic and more humane and less toxic approach to treating cancer.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the philosophy at Arcadia Clinic in Germany. What is the philosophy as people walk in? What are they going to feel embraced with?
My vision was for decades to create a place where people feel taken care of, seen, respected, loved, and surrounded with a healing atmosphere that supports their inherent healing ability, something we call the self-healing capacity of man, which is the center concept, the key concept in naturopathic holistic medicine. And it took me 20 years to manifest this clinic that we opened. Soon it will be our 12th anniversary here in the center of Germany, in a little village called Bad Emstal, close to the city of Kassel, right in the middle of Germany. I remember the day when we opened this clinic, and it was in 2014, so soon we celebrate our 12th anniversary, and where everything is here that to create this atmosphere, a supportive, vital energy It's located in the middle of a curative village with pure air. There's no traffic, no industry around. It's surrounded by woods and meadows. And here we have all the tools that I could dream of as a naturopathic doctor, plant-based medicine in pharmaceutical quality for infusions and injections, hyperthermia devices, and we will soon talk about what that is. That's the treatment of cancer with warmth or heat with special devices that enhances chemical reactions and the pharmaceutical efficacy of the drugs. And where we also sit down with the patient and find individual solutions and take care of the patient's individual concerns, because in the holistic approach, you cherish the truth that we are spiritual beings in a physical body, and that there is no frontier, no line between spirit and body. It's one energy cloud with different aspects. There is an emotional, spiritual aspect of our life and our existence, and there is a material, somatic aspect, and these two aspects are intimately woven into each other. And the holistic approach acknowledges the fact that we're not only biochemical machines or chemical factories or mechanical boxes where we can exchange a part like in a car. No, we are highly complex spiritual, emotional, physical beings, and we have something that we call the self-healing capacity. That is what has kept us alive for all the decades we have already lived on this planet and gone through so many infections that our body cured naturally through the power of our immune system. And that is exactly what we need to bring back in an organism that has now fallen into a crisis that is quite a bit deeper than a banal infection or a functional disease. Cancer is a very, very complex disease that affects all aspects of the human nature, body, mind, and spirit. And that is why a holistic approach is the only one that works, if you ask me. And the pitfall of Western world medicine is to focus too much on the physical part of the disease. And yes, there is time for surgery and there is time for radiology in the complex treatment possibilities of a patient suffering from cancer. But what holistic doctors add to the knowledge that is shared in all expert centers around the world is the knowledge of what the body needs in order to have vitality. And vitality is a powerful immune system, a powerful detox system, and the capacity to be in balance between stress and relaxation, and to have a strategy to handle worries and crises. So all these aspects together is holistic, and that is what we have created here and manifested at Arcadia Clinic in Bad Emstal in Germany. If you or our audience is interested in what patients experience here, the best way actually is to read what patients have written about their treatment experience. We just got 3 new reviews on Google, so go to Arcadia Praxisklinik and look at the Google reviews. The last 3 reviews that we got today really warmed my heart and tell you more than my words could tell you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Esther, you talked about Western medicine versus Eastern medicine and that mentality, which to me would be treat the tumor or treat the terrain. When we're talking, today's conversation to me is about treating the terrain, the body. And when we treat the body, when we give the body what it needs, that is when the body responds. One of the first things I'd like to mention is, making sure that the body doesn't have the viruses or anything like that. We've talked about Epstein-Barr, which is something that is a marker for many of the patients that have cancer. And when I coach somebody with cancer, it's the first thing I want them to do. Make sure that that terrain, your body is ready to receive. And we've done other classes on this, so you can tune in and watch some other. And by the way, when Dr. Henning said the name of his website and his clinic, all you have to do is go to whenyouneedafriend.com, right there, click on make sure you're a subscriber. But if you're a subscriber, you have all his contact information. All you do is click on his name and it'll take you straight there. So that being said about the body and treating the terrain, Why does the hyperthermia and the whole body hyperthermia, how does that benefit the body?
Okay, a little bit about the history of
Yes.
treatment with heat or warmth.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, it's the oldest type of treatment that is known that medical doctors have used in the world. Full stop, period. Isn't that a fantastic statement? And
Mhm.
it's true. If you go back to the beginning of modern medicine, we meet the medical doctor called Hippocrates who lived 2,500 years ago on the island of Kos, which is today Greece. So he is called the grandfather of modern medicine, and you'll find in his books that were taught at medical universities throughout 2 millenniums. Doctors in the 19th century were still informed and educated in the Hippocratic way to think about disease and treatments. So from Hippocrates, we can learn that heat treatment is the most effective way to deal with chronic ailments. He literally said, give me the power to induce fever in my patients and I will cure all ailments. This is a quotation 2,500 years ago. Another interesting historic fact is that the Greek word for medical doctor, which is pronounced iatros, we still use that syllable in words like psychiatry, so the iatry is the Greek word for medical doctor, in its true meaning is the one that brings warmth to the patient. So the definition of a medical doctor in the Greek language that we still use in medical language is a doctor is somebody who brings warmth to his patients. So having said that, I can continue with modern science and share a few facts on hyperthermia that are
Absolutely.
published in recent medical publications in world-leading journals like Lancet Oncology, New England Journal of Medicine, etc., the International Journal of Oncology, where you,
PubMed.gov in
yes,
the United States. I don't know if you get that in Germany.
yes, we do. So if you go to PubMed, you'll find many thousand publications on the topic of hyperthermia and treatment in oncology, telling you that hyperthermia is the best known treatment enhancer of other strategies like radiation and chemotherapy. Because heat accelerates chemical reactions. That's a banal insight. We use a stove or an oven in our kitchen every day to prepare the food we eat because heat speeds up chemical processes that we let our food go through in order to make it more eatable and digestible. So cooking is based on hyperthermia. So in in a medical context, we use hyperthermia to enhance the pharmaceutical effect of chemotherapy or radiation. Chemotherapy is normally interpreted as the treatment with toxic drugs. But I widen the concept of chemotherapy and tell you that everything that has the potential to kill a cancer cell, if it is turmeric extract from the spicy plant turmeric, curcumin is the molecule, or if it is artesunate from Chinese wormwood, or if it's an extract of mistletoe, that contains lectins and vincotoxins that have the potential to kill cancer. I don't stop calling them chemotherapy. It's plant-based chemotherapy. So we have synthetic, classic, quite toxic chemotherapy that comes from the pharmaceutical production in pharmaceutical industry. But we also have plant-based chemotherapy with much less, if at all, any side effects. And so let's call turmeric artesunate, mistletoe extract, and high-dose vitamin C as another example for a very powerful, non-toxic, anti-cancer drug that I would call chemotherapy. Hyperthermia has the potential to make all these pharmaceuticals stronger, more effective in their way to kill cancer. Why? Well, that's very easy to understand because heat widens our blood vessels, widens the capillaries, the small vessels around the tumor, and allow the blood flow to be more effective into the tumor. And if we inject the drug, it goes to our blood. And if the capillaries and the vessels around the tumor are widened, we get more of the drug into the tumor. That's the first principle. The second is that heat itself makes the cancer cell more sensitive to the attack with chemotherapy. It stresses the cancer cell. It speeds up the metabolic turnover in a cancer cell, by the way, also in other cells, but they are not as sensitive to heat as cancer cells are. Cancer cells are already in a stress mode. They are overactive. They are metabolically overactive and have a higher turnover. That's their nature. They grow faster. And that means they're hit more strongly, more badly. If you overheat a tumor, you stress the tumor enormously. And if you get more of the drug that is prone to kill the cancer into the tumor by heating it up, and if you stress the metabolic rate in a tumor lump by raising the temperature, you have two components that help you to kill the tumor more effectively compared to normal temperature. This is published in first-class medical papers and is not new to the scientific community. So the question is really, why is it so little used? Why is it not used everywhere? Go to PubMed and you will find first-class publications in world-leading medical journals that are accepted around the world. So, and I give you the answer why you don't get it in your local oncology clinic in your town or in your university clinic, because the scientific community says we need to get more large study that prove the effect of it. And that's the point. That's the crucial point for everything.
But there's so many people using it. Why can't we all combine together and
That's
create
that's the
one huge
that's
study?
yeah, that touches the if you ask me, the biggest weakness of modern society and the definition of what a good therapy is. A good therapy is, by definition, of all oncological societies around the world, based on publications about large studies with many thousand people included and compared with a control group that does not get this treatment. So what we would need is huge studies with many thousand patients included that get chemotherapy with or without hyperthermia. And I know the experts in German universities who have worked on this task for decades, and they have accomplished medical studies that are published in, for instance, Lancet Oncology. You'll find a study published by Rolf Issels, professor in Munich University, on sarcoma treatment with and without hyperthermia. He got it into Lancet. The difference was spectacular, more than double as many positive results, and the response rate more than doubled in the group that got hyperthermia plus chemotherapy compared to only chemotherapy. He is now currently working on a study for pancreatic cancer patients. There are more studies than this that have reached a level of randomized trials, but still the scientific community says, oh, that's an interesting study. Could you please repeat it? And please with even a larger group included. So the claims from the scientific community are extremely high. The level that you need to convince the scientific community with is extremely high, and that means extremely expensive. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, if not more.
Yeah.
And that's the problem we have, because hyperthermia does not create so much revenues compared to what a drug is able to create, and that's why the financing is a problem. So now we covered the politics.
Yeah. There's always someone, that has to profit from disease. There's always someone that has to profit by disease, and they're funded very heavily, and they have deep pockets. So what is the cost, let's say, compared to chemotherapy or other Western ways of treating the body? How compare the pricing, is it less or more than
Much
chemotherapy?
less,
Much
Lily.
less. Okay.
Much less.
But
To
it
drop a
requires because I know that when you do it, you have a nurse present. There's a process that you guys follow. You don't want to cook them. You
no,
want
of course
to
not.
heat them
It's
because you made
state
that
of the art.
comparison with meat.
Yeah, it's state-of-the-art technique that we use. The devices are controlled by specific computers. The patient is monitored with temperature probes inside the body and on the body. The patient is connected to a heart cardiac monitor. We measure oxygen saturation, heart rate, ECG parallel to the procedure. It's safe. Ask me how many patients I've treated. I've approximately treated 6,000 patients in my life with hyperthermia. I started 20 years ago. Please ask me how many mentionable side effects I've seen. The answer is very easy, zero.
I'm
So
glad I
that
asked. I'm glad I asked.
that tells you a lot.
It
How much
does.
does it cost? Well, the procedure costs a whole body hyperthermia treatment that takes the whole procedure from morning to early afternoon, the preparation, the procedure
Yeah.
itself, the aftercare, the couple of hours that the patient need to rest in a restroom in
Hmm.
order to cool down again,
Hmm.
the infusions that are connected with it. If you book it as a standalone treatment for one day in Germany, you pay around $2,000 for that. That
Hmm.
is money, of course, but compare it, please, with other treatments, yeah, radiation, surgery, or oncological
Yeah. Interventions.
therapies with
Yeah.
drugs. I drop a few numbers. I recently read that Western world countries like the United States spend today around $400,000 a year to prolong the life of late stage cancer patients with a year, $400,000, only the drugs. A standard radiation therapy is between $30,000 and $100,000. A
Wow.
surgical procedure is between $20,000 and $150,000, depending on how many doctors are involved. So compared to that, hyperthermia is cheap, very cheap.
Yeah, unfortunately, many people are led by whatever insurance they have and whatever the insurance pays, but most people don't understand that there is a lot of out-of-pocket expenses when it comes to the treatment of the conventional treatment of cancer. So I always say that if I'm going to take money out of my pocket to pay towards anything, it's going to be towards something that it's going to be my choice. And if money's going to come out of my pocket anyway, I might as well choose where I want to spend that money because the out-of-pocket expenses exceeds treatments that you would receive that the insurance don't pay for, which I think is kind of funny that
Yeah,
people
well,
they're
it's
not told that, it's like, okay, you can spend $100,000 out of pocket for your treatment, or you can spend $50,000 out of pocket with no insurance. So to me, that's anyway, that's just
well,
me. It's a lot
well,
of
that
money,
touches
no
the
matter what.
politics
It's a
of our
lot of money.
time. Yeah, the make it short. Let's make it short. The health insurances are in close connection to the politics around the pharmaceutical industry and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the guidelines that are defined by professors who have done their studies with the pharmaceuticals that the pharmaceutical industry passed them over to make the studies. So it's a closed circle,
yeah,
and the
it is.
insurances say we pay for guideline-based therapies, and if the therapy that you want to do is not based on international guidelines, we don't pay for it.
Yeah,
And I just told the audience why hyperthermia is still not regarded to be guideline-based because of a lack of huge studies.
yeah.
And why don't we have huge studies? Because nobody invests the 100, 200 millions to prove it on the higher level. But it's already proven.
It's already proven. And you're
It's
talking about
already
2,000 years ago. It was Hippocrates who said it. So now with that in mind, because I wanna move to the next topic. But with that in mind, are there cancers that do best with hyperthermia Or do all, because I always say there's not one size fits all, but does hyperthermia help the body of every person? Or is there
The,
certain cancers that don't work?
in principle, the answer is yes. In principle, hyperthermia has the potential to act as a treatment enhancer for all kinds of solid cancer. Let's exclude leukemia. That's a different disease. So what we call blood cancer or leukemia, let's exclude that. That's a different cup of tea. But the solid types of cancerous lumps and tumors that grow in our organs and are tangible and have a defined structure can be treated with hyperthermia and other modalities.
Okay.
Hyperthermia is not a solid standalone therapy.
Okay.
Hyperthermia should be regarded as a very powerful add-on therapy. So it
Yeah.
makes other therapies more effective. And that is a huge benefit. If we have something that makes the drugs we use stronger, then we have more possibilities to choose other dosages. Let me come from from another perspective. What is the biggest downside of chemotherapy? It's toxicity. Toxicity is in correspondence to dosage. And that is the dilemma of chemotherapy. We want to kill all cancer cells, but we don't want to kill the patient. And cancer cells are only sensitive to chemotherapy in a less than optimal way. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this conversation. Otherwise, we would say, okay, chemotherapy cures everyone. But that's not true. That's true in some corners of leukemia treatment. And that's why we don't talk right now about leukemia. Leukemia is the example for the best results with chemotherapy. Let's acknowledge that. And I don't oppose chemotherapy.
Are you talking about full dose chemotherapy or insulin potentiation therapy, a lower dose or
full dose chemotherapy? If a patient calls me and the diagnosis is acute leukemia or a very aggressive lymphoma, which is also a blood-borne disease, I send this patient to the best university team for full dose chemotherapy. And I wrap it, if the patient allows me to do that, in a lot of detox, mind-body, nutritional support therapies, but I acknowledge the fact that if it's an aggressive leukemia, then a hospital team specialized on special chemotherapy, sometimes with bone marrow transplants, is the best way to have a chance to not die from the disease. These diseases are very aggressive and need to be treated in a very special way. Let's acknowledge that. So we continue.
And I want to add something here that I just thought of, that when people get treatments, like I've spoken to so many people that are getting like 24, 36 doses of chemotherapy, whereas a typical typical treatment at your clinic is 3 weeks. And so is there a reason why it's so prolonged with chemotherapy?
Complex question, Lily.
Okay. No, then we'll
because there is no, I can't say that what you just said is always the case. So we need to be a little more specific.
Okay.
What I hear is the question, is it really, really necessary to treat patients over months with toxic chemotherapy?
Years.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead, keep going.
Well, yes, I try to answer in a way that covers 80%, 90% of the terrain. And I would say that is not what I would do. I would not choose to treat metastasized cancer. And that's where my colleagues at centered oncology clinics offer patients chemotherapy for years, for literally as long as the patient tolerates it. And that would not be my recommendation. My recommendation would be a less toxic approach where I use what you just mentioned, insulin potentiated low dose chemotherapy, something very special, where we use a metabolic phenomenon to make low dosages of chemotherapy stronger so that we can lower the dosage. And with the lower dosage, we have almost no side effects. But we need to do something to add on the program so that it becomes effective. And that is we lower the blood sugar with a little bit of fast-acting insulin, rapid insulin directly into the patient's blood system, and within half an hour, we dropped the blood sugar level down to a level that we call the therapeutic optimal level for chemotherapy, which is about 50% of the blood sugar level of a healthy person with after a night with no breakfast, so empty stomach, morning blood sugar. So we lowered that by 50% with insulin injection. And then after an hour, when the blood sugar is down at around 45, 50 milligram per deciliter, we give 20% of a dosage of a synthetic, potentially toxic anti-cancer drug, standard chemotherapy, but we use only 20%. And that makes a huge difference in toxicity. And how can we expect a good result from so little dosage? Well, we expect a good result because we know that if we lower blood sugar, we make cancer cells 10 times, 20 times, 30 times more susceptible for the treatment. Cancer cells live on sugar, and if you lower blood sugar, cancer cells start to go into a severe metabolic crisis. They become extremely hungry, so to say, and when they're hungry, quote unquote, they open their membranes for the flow of sugar that they get, the little sugar that is left, and in that moment, they do not only get sugar, but they get poisoned sugar, they get low-dose chemotherapy, and at the end of the infusion, we even inject a little bit of sugar that causes a current of both sugar and drugs, chemotherapy, into the cell body of the cancer cells. So first we open the membrane by lowering blood sugar, and then we deliver the chemotherapy drug in a reduced dosage, no side effects, but still active because now we have a 10-fold higher uptake of the drug. And at the end, we even give a little bit of sugar that causes a biochemical current that draws chemotherapy together with the sugar molecules into the cancer cell body. And it closes the membrane eventually after half an hour. So we open the membrane, we deliver the drug, and we close the membrane. That's the shortest version to describe insulin potentiation.
And I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's been around for a long time.
80 years.
But one of the things I want to point out is that when you do this kind of insulin potentiation therapy, low dose chemotherapy treatment, you make sure that whatever chemotherapy you're using, the body can accept.
Yes. And the difference between 100% dosage and a 20% dosage in terms of toxic side effects is huge, huge. We hardly see any side effects. And that is not what you can say from chemotherapy in the regular dosage. You see the most severe side effects that a doctor can ask his patient to tolerate, nausea, vomiting, hair loss, poor liver values, bone marrow damage with low blood cell counts for months, or if not years. And that is the dilemma of chemotherapy. So what we do here at Arcadia Clinic and in other clinics that work with a holistic approach is less toxic treatments if we use synthetic drugs, and sometimes it's necessary. Many of our patients come with a heavy cancer burden, so they need to shrink the tumor cells fast because they are in pain, they are at risk to lose their organ functions, they're at risk to die from the disease. So we need to do something to reduce the numbers and sizes of tumors, lumps fast. So that's where we choose to go into standard drugs, but in a reduced dosage, enhanced through metabolic modification of blood sugar, and we add on hyperthermia as another treatment enhancer. And we do the detox program and the oxygen treatments and the vital treatments and stimulate the immune system, for instance, with mistletoe injections. So we do the holistic things too. But in a stage 4 with progressive disease where the tumors are on the way to kill the patient, you need to offer something that reduces the sizes fast to not lose the patient. And that is the situation where we welcome some toxic drugs, but we use them in a dosage that...
Homeopathic dose, a homeopathic dose?
I wouldn't call it homeopathic. Homeopathy dilutes substances many, many times and work with the energy of a substance. So let's leave the term
Okay.
homeopathy for a
Okay.
very special part of
Okay.
naturopathic medicine,
Okay.
but we reduce it down to a fifth. Instead of 100%, 20, 25 at the maximum, and sometimes between 10 and 20. That the percent. That
Yeah.
depends on the severity and the
Yes.
dynamic of the disease. So it's not really homeopathic. Homeopathic would be a dilution 1 to a million or 1 to a billion. That's homeopathy. That's
Can we say
something.
holistic? Can we say
Yeah.
holistic? It's
But
just less than, it is a lot less than what is typically being
yeah, as I
given
said,
to
the
people.
typical dosage is a fifth, 20%. So
Mhm.
it still follows rational pharmacology. We're
Mhm.
not talking about only energy effects that, like in homeopathy, it's still traditional pharmacology, but we can reduce the dosage because we raise the uptake. We work on the uptake with blood sugar
Got it.
modification and insulin so that we can afford to give less dosage
Yeah, I
because
love it.
we open the cell and make sure that the lower dosage goes where we want it to go, and that is into the cancer and not elsewhere to the brain, to the liver, to the kidneys, and do all the damage that we don't want.
Exactly.
So we
Exactly.
optimize the treatment. Insulin potentiation, low-dose chemotherapy is an optimized, metabolically adapted way of chemotherapy that is just very smart. We optimize the metabolic uptake and save dosage, and by saving dosage, we save the patient from side effects.
Yeah, and
That's
that's
the main
huge.
message.
And that is
And
huge.
now you can ask me what probably everybody asks now in our audience. If that is so easy to understand, why does my oncologist not use it? And the answer is the same as what I gave you with hyperthermia. We don't have large studies. We only have 80 years of experience in a group that is maybe, I would say, 100 doctors around the planet that have
Really?
are experienced in insulin
Wow.
potentiation therapy. That's the number that I know of.
Hmm.
It's the Academy of Insulin Potentiation Therapy that is founded by the grandson of the inventor, and I want to honor his grandfather and he himself. His name is Dr. Donato Garcia Perez, who lives in Tijuana, Mexico, and his grandfather with the same name invented insulin potentiation therapy in the 1940s and 50s. And this is the legacy, this is the lineage of insulin potentiation therapy doctors. So it has been done for 80 years, but it's still in the shade of all the
Yeah.
big therapies that are based on so much money. And it's very easy to understand that there is no big interest to invest 100 millions to show that old-fashioned cheap chemotherapy drugs work very well in a reduced dosage.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
There's
you
no
know what?
there's
And
no
this is
profit in
and
that.
this is what I said at the beginning of the class today, that today hopefully will help towards instead of increasing the toxicity in our body, this will increase the curiosity that we're possibly experiencing right now. Is either that you've turned us off already, but if I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the people who are still hanging on that are saying, is this true? Look it up. Don't believe a word that we're saying. Look it up. Make it your truth. There's so much information out there. I would not be, when I tell you that the person I am today, the person I used to be, let me just put it this way. The person I used to be would make fun of the person I am today. But it took being so angry with Dr. Lorraine Day. I wanted to prove her wrong that made me open up to these new truths that have created the awareness that I have today that and has changed my life. It has changed my life, the way I look at disease. I look at the way that disease is spirit, mind, and body. And it's changed. Like I said, I think it saved me because I was on some heavy duty asthma medication that were compared to chemotherapy. And if it wasn't the fact that I was curious, and I was on these drugs for 9 years, I truly believe that had I stayed on these drugs for asthma that was the same as chemotherapy, but I was never told it was. It was suppressing my immune system. That's all I knew until I got an explanation of benefit saying, oh, we're charging you $1,000 for this chemotherapy. And I had just started dipping the toe in this beautiful Eastern, holistic, functional, integrative. And then that's when I had Dr. Day on the classroom. And actually, it was a radio show back then. And I said, I'll never have her on. And a year later, she came on, and I'd say, I'd never have her on. But it was that curiosity that made me not dismiss her. So if you're about to dismiss us right now, I beg you, do your homework. And do your homework so that you can read about the holistic aspect of dis-ease as opposed to the quackery that's out there. So I'm just saying, and for those of you who are tuning into today's class, just know that if you are a subscriber, you have all of Dr. Henning's information. If you are a subscriber and you would like a free 45-minute consult, you can text me at text me at 407-373-5959 or email me at lily@whenyouneedafriend.com. I will put you in contact with Dr. Henning or his assistant, and we can schedule something for you so that you can ask the questions that Dr. Henning will answer for you. And I love that Dr. Henning is doing that. I want you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com. While you're there, please subscribe. And I don't know if you haven't checked it out yet, but check out my website facelift that we just underwent. And so if you haven't seen it, I'm saying facelift for my website because I haven't had one. So I just want to make sure I'm being specific. So go check it out. While you're there, please subscribe to the website if you haven't done so already. Like me on all social media. Reach out to, send this video to all your friends that you love. 1 in 3 people, they say. No, that's dementia. 1 in 3 people that are going to get dementia. But if you think about cancer, the statistics are, I think, of 1 in 2, 50% of people. So I am just so excited that we get to share this information uninterrupted. And by the way, if by chance this gets deleted, go to my BitChute. Make sure you subscribe to my BitChute channel because according to them, they do not edit us, or censor us. So not only that, check out my sponsors that they're supporting the classroom. Check out all the Lilly approved products from head to toe. We have our November 1st I Am the Solution Natural Health Summit, not only for people who want to prevent, but how to for cancer and autoimmune dis-ease. So mark your calendar for November 1st. Last but not least, you can become an enrolled student in the classroom, whether it's $1,000 or $1 a month, a one-time donation or reoccurring donation. Everything helps of your time, your talent, your treasure. Like I said, sharing this video helps immensely when the algorithms are trying to keep this information boggled down. So today we're talking to Dr. Henning Saupe. He's a medical doctor, not just works on natural and holistic. He is a medical doctor for over 30 plus years. I think it was 33, as I recall. And his journey happened no different than all of us who fall into natural health, which is a healing crisis that happened to his mom. And so I always see, whenever I'm with him, I feel his desire to not just help you, but by helping you, he somehow learned from what happened to his mom. So it's just a beautiful way that we can all use our experience in the past for the greater good. So Dr. Henning's information is in the website, in the blog. Just click it, and it'll take you there. Once again, if you want a 45-minute free consultation with Dr. Henning, make sure you text me at 407-373-5959. Ask for what you want, because I don't know what you're responding to. Or you can email me at lily@whenyouneedafriend.com. Okay, Dr. Henning. So here we are. We just finished talking about hyperthermia, and I really would like to talk about mistletoe. And, and you've never come to my home yet, but someday you will. But in the entrance of my home, and all my homes that I've owned, there's always mistletoe in the foyer. Because what do you do when you're under mistletoe? You kiss the person that you see. So there's always mistletoe in my home, but it has more than a kissing value to it. It has a healing mechanism. Can you explain about mistletoe and how long have you been diving into mistletoe?
Yeah, mistletoe is a great medicinal plant that has had a magic around its appearance for thousands of years. We know that our ancestors used it. Druids in the Germanic culture used mistletoe extracts. And we just celebrated the 100th anniversary of mistletoe as an injectable drug in the treatment of cancer. So it was used in traditional medicine, in herbal teas, in tinctures, in poultices for literally thousands of years. But it became an injectable drug and with a very special pharmaceutical process behind how to extract the liquid from the mistletoe leaves and berries, most of all, around 100 years ago in Switzerland. And it goes back to the time of the anthroposophy movement, and Dr. Rudolf Steiner and one of his closest friends and students, a Dutch female doctor, Dr. Ita Wegman, who developed this new treatment for cancer in the years 1922, 23, 24, and opened a hospital in Switzerland, in Arlesheim, the St. Luke's Clinic for cancer treatment specialized in mistletoe treatment. And since that, more than 100 years, hundreds of articles have been published and books, even in the English-speaking countries, in the English literature. There is a great book on mistletoe and the dawn of new oncology, published by some American colleagues, Dr. Anderson and Dr. Neisha Winters and Marion Debus from Switzerland. It's a co-production. Many authors have contributed to this great book that shows what mistletoe can do. Number one, it's a wonderful stimulant for our immune system. If you inject mistletoe extract subcutaneously, which is underneath the skin, you stimulate the dendritic cells, very, very special and very important cells in our immune system, and they live in the subcutaneous fatty tissue. You stimulate them to grow and to call their neighboring cells, the natural killer cells, the lymphocytes, the granulocytes, to be more active and more interested in finding cancer cells in our body. And that is one of the big problems in oncology, that our immune system obviously does not react appropriately. This immune system still reacts towards banal viruses or bacteria, but somehow the immune system has lost its ability to find cancer cells in somebody who develops the disease. And it's not only a weakness, it's a mismatch. It's a misled immune system. I always underline this information and knowledge that if somebody asks me, oh, I have cancer, I must have a weak immune system. That's not entirely true. If you have developed cancer up to the level of a tangible lump, your immune system is not weak, it's out of balance. It does too much what you don't want. And what is it? What you don't want? Inflammation. So the fact is that in most cancerous diseases, the immune system is overactive in an inflammatory way, and it's too little active in its work to find cancer cells and destroy cancer cells. So it's a impairment, it's a mismatch within our immune system, and that is what mistletoe can help us to get back to balance. I would not say it's the only drug and it's the silver bullet that solves all our problems, because that does not exist. Otherwise, we would not have this conversation. But it's one of the most powerful and most well-known medicinal plant extracts and remedies used in Europe by almost every third cancer patient. Mm. That is how famous it has become in Germany and European countries, mostly in Switzerland, Austria, the Netherlands, Germany, and from here, where it was developed more and more, even in other European countries, and it's available in the United States. So it's one of the most well-known, well-understood plant-based, non-toxic drugs that, as I just described, helps us to make the immune system more active towards cancer and down regulates the unwanted overactivity of our immune system that is kept and captured in chronic inflammation. This is the traditional way to use mistletoe. Since 30 years back in time, specialists in naturopathic oncology have started to use mistletoe in higher quantities, higher dosages, intravenously in infusions. And that opened a total new possibility and toolbox to use mistletoe in higher dosages as plant-based chemotherapy. And I call it chemotherapy because it acts in a way that kills cancer cells. Again, don't misunderstand me. It's not the silver bullet that kills every cancer cell, and now we don't need to continue our conversation because we have solved the problem. No, that's not that easy. But the message is mistletoe intravenous is, if you ask me, with 33 years of experience in this field of naturopathic non-toxic cancer therapies, I would call it the #1 plant-based anti-cancer drug. If there was only one drug I could use for a patient, I would use intravenous mistletoe injections or infusions.
Wow.
And there are many different types of mistletoe, depending on what tree this plant grows. It's a symbiont. It's a plant that grows on trees. It's the seeds are transported by birds, and the bird's poo puts the seed on a twig, and from there it grows and forms a beautiful ball-like bush that grows inside trees. It does not destroy the tree, so it's not a parasite. It's a symbiont, pharmacists harvest these ball-like bushes and pick the berries and make the extract from it. And we learned that there are different combinations of anti-cancer drugs in different trees. If the mistletoe grows on a pine tree, it produces more lectins that attack cancer cells than if it grows on an apple tree. So if you want to have a milder form of mistletoe, you use the apple tree mistle. If you want a stronger, you can use mistletoe from an oak tree. And for intravenous injection, on some reason, the mistletoe that grows on pine trees has been shown the best effects as a plant-based chemotherapy drug. And it's non-toxic. We use it daily in various dosages. There is a potential for allergy reactions. Yes, if you use it intravenously, you have to be prepared to help your patient if the patient develops an allergy reaction. There has to be a syringe with a steroid and an antihistamine next to the patient, because that can happen. How often does it happen? Maybe 1 in 100. So not very often, but you have to be prepared if that happens.
If
you
you're
have to
the
block
101, you would
reaction.
appreciate that. Yes.
Yes, but so we see these allergy reactions a few times a year, and we treat, I would say, in average 3 to 5 patients a day with high-dose mistletoe infusions and a few allergy reactions a year. Compared to the side effects we see in standard oncology, it's really a very, very positive side effect profile. And what happens after the allergy reaction? Well, nothing. A little bit of skin irritation, a little bit of itching. That's it. So the risk is not so dramatical. You need to stop it.
It's a great perspective. Yeah, it's a great perspective here.
It's a great perspective. So altogether, the risk profile is very, very positive. Toxicity is close to 0. There is a little bit of an allergy risk that you have to be prepared to handle. And then you can use it unlimitedly. What is the difference to standard chemotherapy? Standard chemotherapy is always limited by its toxicity. Yeah. There comes the day where the bone marrow is so heavily damaged that you just cannot continue to treat the patient with more chemotherapy. And because chemotherapy never cures solid cancers, that's the sad end point of chemotherapy, toxicity. We still do not talk about leukemia, where we have different protocols, but solid tumors, breast cancer, lung cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, gallbladder cancer, pancreas cancer, those are the types of cancer that do not respond to chemotherapy in a way that you can cure it. You can lower the the masses. You can shrink the tumors as long as the patient tolerates the toxicity. And the toxicity limits the way to use standard chemotherapy. So now back to Mistletoe, no limitation because of toxicity. That's a great news.
That's great news. That's great news. And one of the things I've so sorry I have not done this yet. I want all of you to know that Dr. Henning has written this wonderful book called Holistic Cancer Medicine. And for those of you who have stayed with us so far, I'm going to give you an opportunity to reach out and get your name in the winner's basket. Say you want a copy of Holistic Cancer Medicine, and I will send it to you. The first I will put you in the winner's basket, and I will pull a week from now, I will pull your name out and call you if you get selected. So this is one of the books that Dr. Henning has written, and I'm sure there will be more. We only have about, Dr. Henning, I'm so sorry. We have about 2 minutes left. And
Wow.
I'd love to talk about metabolic support.
Yeah.
Quickly, what would you say about metabolic support?
Well, that's the big chapter of how to deal with carbohydrates and sugar, because cancer cells are extremely sugar dependent, sugar enthusiasts. They live on sugar to a very high extent.
Yes.
And that's the story of the Warburg effect. Dr. Warburg was a Nobel Prize laureate. Actually, he won the Nobel Prize twice in the 1930s and 40s for his discoveries around cancer and sugar. So the metabolic approach to cancer is to lower the intake of carbohydrates and to repair the energy-producing units in our cells called the mitochondria. And that would be the next show to explain and to go into the depths of mitochondria biochemistry. What is a mitochondrium? Well, it's the energy plant of our cell. And how can we repair the specific damage that cancer cells have in their mitochondria, in their energy production? And I'm excited to go into the depths of this super interesting and promising field, mitochondrial therapy of cancerous diseases. And that's the metabolic approach that deals with blood sugar, mitochondrial repair, and how to create the optimal biochemical terrain in our body that stops cancer growth.
Well, I absolutely love this conversation, and I hope that, like I said at the beginning, that this conversation is life-changing for somebody that is looking either at a diagnosis or maybe working with, if they're doing chemotherapy, maybe using some of these other healing therapies that are non-toxic to kind of help their body, feel better and get better. And so once again, I just want to remind you, if you've stayed on this long and you've stayed in this class right now, just text me at 407-373-5959. Get your name in the winner's basket. Let me know that you want to get Dr. Henning's book, and I will put you in the winner's basket. And a week from today, I will pick one name for that. Also, I want to remind you that if you would like a free consult, a 45-minute free consult with Dr. Henning Saupe, just reach out to me. The information is up there, lily@whenyouneedafriend.com if you want to email me. And if you want to text me, it's 407-373-5959. You could call and leave a message too, and I will get back to you. And I'll get all the information and forward it to Dr. Henning at Arcadia Clinic in Germany. And I am looking forward to someday doing my clinicals there. Like I said, I would love to be there and shadow and learn more, because I really do believe that we need more people understanding the healing, how healing the body can be, how forgiving the body is when you give it what you need. And I'm so grateful, Dr. Saupe, that you have you have studied this, you have learned it, and that you are replenishing the body with what it needs instead of putting toxic chemicals in it. So thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Lily, for the great work you do. And thank you to our audience for the interest you showed for our presentation today. And welcome back to our next show about mitochondrial therapy.
That's it. That's part 2. That's the teaser. And we're going to continue to grow and learn together. Please remember, this is Lillian McDermott and Dr. Henning Saupe wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job. Good job. That was amazing.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.